Hey everyone, welcome back to the Empowered Athlete podcast. Today I have an amazing guest, a friend and fellow breathwork facilitator, Miss Stevie Wright. We've done our breathwork training together back in 2019, and since then I've watched her journey unfold, and she's just become such an amazing leader, specifically working with somatics and embodiment and energetic work and breath work. And so I'm really excited to have her on the podcast today to talk about confidence, because this is something that every single one of us wants more of. And she's such an embodied leader in confidence. And so I'm really excited for you to hear her wisdom and what she has to share and her story. So Miss Stevie's based in California. She's a transformational embodiment mentor and breathwork facilitator who specializes in helping people open portals to their unlimited potential. She applies somatic embodiment, breathwork, depth psychology, and subconscious practices to help her clients live full, fun, creative, and limitless lives. She's the founder of the Breath Channel, a breathwork membership platform that has attracted thousands of members for its fast and effective breathwork practices. As a teenager, Stevie made it to the top 36 of American Idol and sang for America, which is amazing. I know that's a huge part of her story. And her unique way of relating with the world is one of pure receptivity. She believes in unlimited wealth with no resistance, and she offers high-level coaching to individuals and groups. So without further ado, welcome Stevie to the show, and I can't wait to dive in.
Thank you, Natty. I'm so happy to be here. You delivered that beautifully.
Practice. Practice. I'm so excited for you to be here, and I'd love for the listeners who don't know you as well as I do and have been following you for a long period of time, of a little bit about your story and background and what's led you to do the deep work that you do today.
Yeah, I could go so many, whenever I'm on a podcast, I could go so many places with that specific question. But I think in this moment, I'll share. So I've been in the coaching industry for about almost 7 years. I'm at a place now, like this iteration of my business, and really for the last couple years, has really been about somatic work, embodiment, trauma-informed breath work, and doing this kind of really deep care, like really deep inner child work and rewiring patterns. That's the iteration I'm at in this moment. But I've come from health coaching. I've come from coaching around food and body image. I've come from anxiety, like coaching around anxiety. There have been a lot of little moments in time in my journey, while also bringing in, like you shared in my bio, I was on American Idol. I've been a singer for my entire life, and I've always tried to incorporate music and my singing and vocalization in my work as well. So yeah, I'm at this place now where I feel really grounded in the work that I do, really in ownership of the work that I do, in the transformation that I support clients in and facilitate. And I'm also, we can talk about this more in a little bit, but I'm also releasing my very first EP of original music. And so I'm working on that right now. And it just feels like I'm at a place where I'm bringing all of my gifts together, my space holding, the healing work, and my voice and singing, and bringing them all together in a place where I feel so excited about this next kind of chapter I'm in.
Yeah, it's been so beautiful to watch. And I just got chills when you talked about the original song, because I know that you were a cover band artist for a long time. And for you to really step into creating your own voice and from your own wisdom and own experiences, that artistry, I'm just so excited for you. I know we talked about it before the call, so it's going to be so beautiful. Whenever we are aligned with our gifts and bring them into the world, like only amazing things happen. And the impact that you're going to make through the songs that you create, it really resonates with me, because something I'm really intentional about is like what I listen to, because there can be great bangers out there and great like beats, but the lyrics are something I think people don't really consider. And when we put that in our body, it's changing our chemistry, it's changing our neural pathways to what we're thinking, what we're believing. And I know that with you being such an angel and light being that you are, the lyrics are going to be something that's going to heal. and really support people. And like, I get emotional just thinking about it because we need more of that out there. So I'll be a listener 100%.
Thank you, Natty. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And of course, we're going to dive right into confidence. That's what we're speaking about in this episode. We're talking about embodied confidence, feeling confident from the inside out. And so I would love for you to share, in your perspective, how does someone become authentically confident? And do you believe that there are steps to developing this confidence, or is it just a mindset shift that you need to decide?
I don't think it's a mindset shift. I think mindset is a part of confidence, but I really believe that confidence is actually a body thing. And I have a course called Embodied Confidence that I released late last year that really focuses on building authentic, true confidence from your tissue, from your body. So mindset, I'm not saying mindset can't help with confidence. Of course it can, but I think confidence is really not about anything external. There are, of course, external things that can support you in feeling confident, but confidence is an inside thing. It's how you stay with yourself. It's how you meet yourself, how you treat yourself, how you come back to yourself over and over and over again. And first and foremost, I think it's your relationship to you.
Yeah.
And our relationship to ourselves then affects everything else in our lives. So my teachings on confidence and in my course are about clearing the belief systems that keep you small from a body level, in a somatic way. And also, secondly, connecting with the most confident version of you and embodying it through your system, in your cells. What is she like? How does she feel inside? How does she move in her body? How does she walk, stand, dance, speak, like making even a list of words that describe her. But confidence, choice is such a powerful thing. Like you said, that mindset choice is absolutely a powerful thing. While I think that if you're really trying to build confidence, I think it's going to be an internal game. And I think it's going to be coming from actually healing the body.
Yeah. And do you think that it's enough just to embody the future version of you that is confident, like for instance, posture, and just like, again, what would she wear? How would she respond? How does she feel? What habits does she have? Do you think that's enough in really feeling confident, or do you think that there is absolutely, and I kind of know my perspective on this, but from your perspective, like, do you think there also needs to be the actual healing work of unwiring and rewiring and unlearning all of those things in conjunction with
that one?
Yeah, basically.
Yes. And so I say something in Embodied Confidence where I say, like, this is really not fake it till you make it. I know it's not even that I don't believe in fake it till you make it. I do see how even just showing up in a different way in your posture and the way you walk, like that absolutely can have a shift 100%. It's not that I don't believe in fake it till you make it, but I think it is actually more sustainable, more long lasting, and it's actually going to reach deeper corners of your body and therefore your life when you embody it till you are it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that doesn't actually mean embodying it. Part of it is embodying that version, but also embodiment means clearing the stagnation, clearing the belief system, clearing the frozen shame that's stuck, clearing the belief systems that say you're not good enough. And we go over all of that in my course. But I think they go really hand in hand together. It's about clearing the old and embodying the new.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And like what I'm hearing you say, and what is a big aspect of what I teach too, is almost like there needs to be spaciousness for the new you to take hold and to settle in. And when we have that old energy stuck in our body, we can feel good in the moment through those like surface level like embodiments, but it can't actually land because there's no spaciousness for it to settle.
That's a great point. Another way you can think about it is like if you were to stand on a cardboard box and it was empty, that box would collapse. There would be nothing in it. But if you were to stand on a cardboard box that's full to the brim of books, it would not collapse. And I actually think that that's sort of a metaphor of this exact work, that if you're doing the posture and you're doing the highest version, and that's all wonderful, but also where's the foundation? What are you standing on? What is your house built on? Is it built on sand or is it built on concrete? And so when you're actually doing the deeper healing work and the somatic work of clearing the stagnation, clearing the belief systems, you're filling up your box, you're solidifying your foundation so that you actually have something grounded to stand on moving forward.
Yes. And I want to dive into kind of like your perspective on how trauma and conditioning impacts our ability to feel confident, but based off like that analogy you just spoke, like one of the things I did want to ask you, so we can choose which one we want to talk on first, is a huge aspect of something I preach about, which is safety and self-trust, and how that influences our ability to be confident. And you spoke to that strong foundation, which to me is like that stability, that safety. So I want to let you take the reins on which one would you rather speak to first, the safety and self-trust, or diving into like how the trauma and conditioning impacts, because it's all ultimately interconnected anyway.
Yeah, I'll go into the trauma piece first, because I think it'll kind of bridge nicely into the second question. But so when we have unprocessed trauma or belief system, there is some amount of our energy that is bound up in that pocket of trauma. And you really learn this in the Embodied Woman, right? So when we think about life force, we are all born with a certain amount of life force. That is true. Every person on the planet is born with a certain amount of life force. But unfortunately, we have trauma, we have painful experiences, we have big happenings in our lives that actually keep us trapped out of that life force. And so I want to just kind of give like a little really simple, like somatic 101, just to kind of give a sense of how it works, how the body works. So when we have a big ouch, a big trauma, a big happening now, and I will say that could be a big T trauma, like a big happening, a big moment, but it could also be a little T trauma. It could also just be the ways in which we're met over and over again in our childhoods by our caregivers, right? We have a big feeling. Our little bodies as children, we don't know how to feel our feelings through. That's exactly right. Little kids don't know how to effectively and safely feel their feelings. Emotion, energy in motion. Emotion has always meant to keep moving. It's always meant to keep going. But unfortunately, because our little bodies didn't have the know-how to feel a big feeling through, and oftentimes, unless we have really, 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 really good attuned parents, we often don't have the support from them to be able to feel it through, because they don't even realize, because they are in their own stuff, because they don't know how to help us, right? So that we have a big, let's say we have a big sad, ow, sad, sad, sad. If we don't know how to feel that big sad or that big fear, that energy that was always supposed to keep moving gets stuck. It gets trapped. And then we have this little pocket of trauma that is stuck in the tissue. And it literally is in the tissue. And somatics, soma means body. It means relating to the body. So when we have this little pocket of trauma, of unfelt feeling of stagnation, some amount of our energy is bound up in that little pocket of frozen trauma. So you can think about it like a necklace, like a chain. When there is a knot in a chain, there is less chain. The chain is shorter, right? Our bodies are the same way. Our bodies are the same way. When we have some amount of our energy bound up in a pocket of trauma, in a unprocessed feeling, there is literally less of us, less of our energy, less of our life force available to our lives. Meaning there's less of us to be able to be present, less of us to focus on abundance, There's less of us available for creating new neural pathways. There's less of us available to create new patterns, to see things differently. We don't have the energy and the life force needed to make a shift, because we don't have all of our access. We don't have access to all the life force that we were born with that could actually make things happen. And that's not to say that if we have trauma, we can't see some change. Of course we can, but coming back to your question, I think it actually becomes harder to do so.
Yeah.
So when we have lots of unprocessed trauma, or we're, and I really want you to get this too, and for the listeners to understand this, when there is that trapped emotion, it is stuck at that same consciousness it gets trapped at. So that is actually profound when you think about it. So if you have, I'm literally just making this up on the spot, but let's say, your dad says you should watch what you eat. Okay. As a little girl should never be told you should watch what you eat, or you should watch your weight, or that their value is in their weight, or et cetera, et cetera. But that made you sad, and that made you feel like you weren't good enough. But because that sadness never got to be processed, that life force, that energy pocket is stuck at, I'm not good enough. My worth is in my body. So whatever the emotion we get trapped at is trapped at the same consciousness it was originally trapped at. So then here we are as adults, trapped at that same consciousness from when we were 7. Right? So that absolutely does affect confidence if you just kind of track that. Because if we're stuck at the same consciousness of whatever our unprocessed feelings are, there we are. Right? And so it's hard to build confidence from that place, from a foundation that says, whether it's the weight, or whether it's any consciousness, any belief systems, kind of ideology that you were born into or that were put on you. So yeah, that absolutely does affect confidence. And then bringing in the safety piece, as we do somatic work, as we are processing trauma, we actually, because a lot of it is using that example I just used, a lot of those pockets of trauma are stuck at unsafety.
Yeah.
Right? And so as we process those feelings through, we actually can have our safety come online. We can feel safe in our bodies. We can feel safe literally on the planet.
Yeah.
So yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. And then the second layer to that, because for me, safety is the foundation. And then I feel like, and if you have a different perspective on this, please share. But I feel like for me, there's 3 levels to get to confidence. Confidence being the third, is safety, self-trust, and confidence. And like for me, self-trust cannot really be built on safety. And I use the same idea of like a house. If you're living in a house of straw, you're not going to feel safe. So you're not going to trust living in that house, right? So if you have a sturdy house, you're going to feel more trusting of living in that house. And the more self-trust that you have, and this is my experience, is what I noticed, the more deeply I trust myself, the more confident I felt authentically from the inside out, because I just really trusted myself in my decisions, in my values, knowing that I would be integral with myself and I wouldn't falter or waver. So for me, that's kind of how I feel like it unlocks the confidence, but I'm curious on how the self-trust piece, if you agree, or if you have a different perspective on that.
No, I agree. That's beautiful. And I think, when I think about self-trust as it relates to confidence, what I think about is trusting, looking back at my process, looking back at my journey, and looking at the ways that I show up and letting that build my confidence. Because when I look back at my journey, I can go, okay, over my whole life, but I'll just kind of speak in just the last, 6-7 years of being in this work, is I can look back at my journey and say, okay, I showed up to my business before it was really even anything. I showed up, I I showed up and I got online and I posted and I showed up daily and I offered value. Or in my relationship, we've been together for almost a decade. I can look back at our relationship and go, even when it was hard, I showed up. Even when it was tricky, I repaired. Even when I was mad, I opened my heart. Like over and over again, I did this. I showed up in this way, in this way, in this way. And I think when we can look back at our journeys and how we show up and how we lead our lives and live our lives, that to me actually gives me confidence, because I trust in myself that I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
I trust in myself that I am going to figure it out. I trust in myself that I'm going to get support when I need it. So when I think of self-trust, like that informs my confidence, because I'm confident based on my track record of how I show up in my life that I'm going to continue to do so.
Yeah.
So I think self-trust is absolutely a part of confidence.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. One of the things I like to think of is just collecting like positive evidence that you showed up for yourself. Like we're so quick, especially working in like food and body and things like that. Like all the times I failed, all the times I, didn't stick with my diet, or all the times I missed this. And it's like, but what about the times that you did? Are you giving yourself any credit for that? Just the shift in perspective and where you focus your energy and intention is what's going to expand and become more of in your life. And so just that simple shift is going to help build that momentum of confidence. So that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so speaking to just highlighting maybe some of the biggest blocks that you've seen in your clients and in the collective as a whole, that get in the way of us feeling confident. And these blocks potentially could be just belief systems, or identities.
Well, if we're talking about the collective and also things that I've seen not only in myself, but in my clients over and over again, I would say a couple of the biggest ones would be comparison and imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I would say those are two of the biggest. When it comes to comparison, you know, comparison for me is really about a choice. When I feel myself, to be honest, I really don't feel comparison a lot, because what I've chosen to do specifically about that energy is, if I see a woman who is ahead of me in some way, maybe she's really in her shine in this area, or she's further along in this area, or she has this thing that I don't yet have. Instead of comparison goes, okay, well, she could say a bunch of things. She has already done it, so I can't have it. She's doing it, so I can't. She's this and that, so I can't be this and that. So comparison is a turning on yourself. It's a closure. It's a contraction. It's a jealousy. It's an I can't. If she has it, I can't. But the way that I've worked with seeing people who are further ahead of me is I choose to let them inspire me.
Yeah.
I choose to let them inspire me and go, wow, you are freaking in your power. You are in your shine. I choose to be inspired by them and say, okay, see you there soon. Thanks for paving the way. Thank you for showing me it's possible. Thank you for the permission slip.
Yeah.
See you there soon.
Absolutely.
And so I comparison is a big one. And I think if you can make the choice to not turn on yourself and instead, because really, what is comparison? We're just seeing elements in someone else, qualities in someone else that we have not fully allowed ourselves to embody.
Yes. Yes.
We're just seeing something about someone else that they are fully in their permission that we have not given ourselves permission to fully inhabit. So a good question to ask yourself is, what are some of the things that this person embodies and is giving herself permission that I have not allowed myself yet?
Yes.
What is being asked of me? What am I craving to allow myself? Because that's all it is. That's all the comparison is. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that you can't have it. It's not that you can't be it. It's just this person is embodying and allowing themselves to be in a certain quality or shine that you have not granted yourself access to yet. So if you can turn your comparison instead to thank you, wow, look at you go, and I'll see you there soon, that is a much more empowered way to approach it.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing there is obviously the choice always, but the permission. And it's so crazy how just giving people permission before they give themselves permission, but like the permission to give yourself permission,
Yeah.
how that just shifts things itself.
Yeah.
You know, they just in people's consciousness sometimes just aren't aware that like I could give myself permission to have this thing or to do this thing or to embody this thing. And so that's such a beautiful way to approach comparison. And I do the exact same thing. I noticed that was big when I started my business because I was never big on social media. So once I started social media, I noticed that. And so that was exactly the process that I did. I was like, I choose to use this person as inspiration. And exactly what you said, what are the qualities this person has? And how can I be more of those qualities? How can I integrate more of those qualities? Because that's ultimately what I see and what I really love and value in this person that I just haven't really fully embodied myself or allowed myself to have. And just also I would actively like feel into like the contraction that would happen, right? That smallness, that trigger that would happen, explore that. But then also like I would not force myself, but instead of judging, right? Instead of judging or criticizing, because that's what our small parts wants to do, more so like, oh, I'm going to give this person a compliment, right? I'm actually going to celebrate this person. Actually, I'm going to share her post because that is the version of me, going back to what we said earlier, embodying that future you. Is like, that's what my embodied self would do, you know? And so I really did take that action now in my choice that I have in this moment.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And then, you know, when it comes to imposter syndrome, I have a kind of a unique, I look at imposter syndrome in a bit of a different way. Now, if you're having imposter syndrome, I don't actually think that you should ignore it, because there's a question you can ask where it kind of goes, is my universe telling me something here? Is this a worthiness thing, right? That I can actually do worthiness work around? Or is my body, is my universe telling me I actually do need more training, more learning, more experience to feel confident in whatever this is? You know, I'll just share a quick story. When I was first starting out, I started out as a health coach years ago. And I was doing kind of wellness and meal plans and different things. And it was definitely not for me. It was not a fit at all. It was not for me. And I learned that very quickly. But one of the things that that kind of led me on this piece of imposter syndrome is that I would have clients come to me, and just a couple, you know, we're doing recipes and things, and just a couple months in, they're telling me like serious serious wounding that I had absolutely no idea how to help them with. And I'm going, whoa, wait, I want to do this work. I want to do this work. This is the work that I really want to do. This is powerful. But I had no idea how to help them.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely needed more training, experience, mentorship, education on how to hold people in that way.
Yeah.
And I think there really is a difference between, you know, getting in a loop of just getting one more certification, getting one more training, getting one more thing for worthiness, you know, and for, okay, well, this will make me worthy. Like, that's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
Then actually my system is saying that this would serve me and my work, or whatever, you know, whatever the body, whatever it is, you know. I think actually if you're feeling imposter syndrome, it's very important, in fact, to pause and go, what's here? Is this just like a worthiness kind of like scarcity kind of thing? Or is my universe guiding me that I actually could use more here? Now, I don't think that that means that you have to stop doing what you're doing, that you have to do anything different necessarily, that you're bad at what you do. It just means that you get to take action on getting yourself practiced enough, mentored enough, skilled enough to really feel confident in what you bring.
Yeah.
And so when I was having that realization, I was still seeing clients, even though I didn't totally feel confident in doing deep work with them. I still was seeing them because I knew that, one, I'm taking the steps to get more skilled. I'm learning. I'm getting the support and the mentorship I need. And two, I knew that my listening and my love for them was enough,
Yeah.
you know? And then three, I didn't make it mean anything about me. I
Yeah.
didn't make anything about me. And I think a good way to tell the difference between, oh, I got to keep, doing more and more and more, and then at some point I'll be worthy, versus my system is telling me that it will serve my life to deepen my skill, is, where do you feel it in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? For me, when I'm coming from that lack place, it feels kind of like an urgency, like there's a shortness of breath. There's
Yeah.
a kind of in my solar plexus,
Mhm. Yeah.
when I'm in truth of, no, I actually need this, it feels exciting.
Mhm.
It feels spacious. There's a curiosity, and each person is going to have to find what that feels like for them. But I think it's helpful to just find that energetic difference in your body of, where is this coming from?
Absolutely. And that was what breath work was for me. I'm a performance coach, with a holistic spin on it, integrating body work and what I do, because that's what I believe really facilitates long-term transformation. But I was doing my health, fitness, all kind of stuff, coaching, and believing everything that I did from that level, but knowing there was something more. Transformational change has always been where my heart was. And so I was always seeking kind of those certifications to get more knowledge and find that missing piece. And then I randomly came into breath work, where it's where we met. And I had no idea what it was, literally had no idea. And it was, thousands of dollars traveling across the country. And I didn't even know how to explain it to people. Like, I'm just up and leaving for this program, I'm learning how to breathe. Like, I don't know, just something's telling me, like you said, that visceral experience of like, this, I don't know what it is, but this is what I'm being called to really do the work that I do. And here we are. And it was absolutely the right choice. So I appreciate you saying that, because there is that balance between, it can be a worthiness wound, and you may also just need the certifications, in certain things, and just trusting that and not getting caught up in the loop of what the other person has. And you need to do the same thing as them, but just listen to yourself and just attune to yourself and trust that guidance.
Yeah.
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 Amazing. And so I'd love to shift a little bit into advice for feeling more confidence in your relationships and your career. And I'm definitely interested in relationships specifically, because I know that, as relational beings, it influences everything. And our relationship to ourself, you had already mentioned, is the foundation for our other relationships. But I'd love for you to expand on that.
Yeah. And are you specifically speaking to romantic relationships?
I'd say, yeah, let's do romantic relationships.
Okay. Well, yeah, oh my goodness, there's so much I could share here. I think that it really does come back to the relationship with you. I remember, so I said a second ago that Patrick and I were getting married in September, and we've been together for almost a decade. And we got together at 22, and I laugh. We both do. We laugh now thinking about who we were back then, and how deeply insecure we were, and how so I mean, it was a total trauma bond. We came together completely unprocessed, completely. We had not even heard of any of this work before. And we were both so jealous and so insecure and so not confident. And I was, had my abandonment wound. I was afraid he was going to leave me for someone else. And he had his own version of like anxious attachment. And so it really came from, I remember we were like 2.5 years in, and we had this kind of conversation where we were like, this is really not working at all. This is really painful. I deeply love you. But this is not working. And so what can we do? Like, we both wanted to really stick it out. And it was from there that we started getting into healing work. We got a couples therapist. We found plant medicine. We started doing all these modalities and techniques that would support us in healing. But it was all around understanding our own trauma, our own experiences first, and how they were coming up to trigger each other. Now, a decade later, Patrick and I are leading couples intimacy retreats, and we're having our third retreat in July, and it's profound, the transformation and the shifts that happens at these retreats. And it's what we focus on specifically is your own material first. Yes, we're doing a lot of work as couples, but we work on your own material first, and how your own material keeps us in a perpetual state of closure when it comes to romantic love.
Yeah.
There's all this love available to you, but these old patterns, these old traumas, these old experiences keep us in closure rather than actually opening our heart.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's really more, it's a bigger conversation than confidence, but I think the way I started feeling confident in myself and in my partnership was I worked with my own material. I worked with my own abandonment stuff. I worked with my own anxious attachment. I worked with my own inner child, and how all of that trauma was being projected all over Patrick. And then same with his stuff on me.
Yeah.
So I could go on and on, but that could be a whole other podcast, but that kind of just starts the.
Absolutely. Yeah. Coming back to yourself and doing your own work is absolutely the foundation. So that was beautiful. And so I guess with that, before we dive into kind of wrapping it up, you had mentioned some of the, obviously, like the trauma work, but just to give some practical takeaways, what are some easy ways someone can begin practicing embodying confidence?
Yeah. Well, I really would recommend my course, Embodied Confidence. It's an 8-week course, and there are like, oh my gosh, it's probably one of my favorite things I've ever created in the last 7 years of being in business and offering things to the world. Like, it is something that I just feel so strongly about and believe so deeply in. And, when you're talking about practical steps and practical tools, the curriculum is all about embodiment practices. It is tools and practices that you can do day to day. And the testimonials, the shifts that happen in that course are pretty bonkers, honestly. So I would do that. I would also I have a breathwork membership called the Breath Channel. You mentioned it before. I joined the Breath Channel. It's donation based. You can pay whatever you want. And just to start getting into your body, getting into somatics, getting into the embodiment work, that is also a really, really great place to start with different practices in there. I have practices on confidence, but I have also practices on safety, like we talked about, inner child practices on, there's literally we're almost close to 200 practices in there. So I think that those are two places that I would begin.
Amazing. And I know that you had mentioned embodied confidence, and I guess you mentioned a little bit of the inspiration behind it, like why you created it. But if you wanted to expand, if we missed part of that, as well as like, who is it for? I'm sure it's for anyone, but for those who may be listening, be like, I don't know if it's for me, or like, is there, a baseline? If you wanted to share to that, like expanding on the embodied confidence, who it's for and why you created it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I created Embodied Confidence. I shared this actually in the first module of the course, but early last year in 2022, I was at a friend's gathering, and one of my friends, Scott, he reflected something so beautiful to me, where he was like, Stevie, I just want to reflect to you, like, you have been through the ringer over the years. Like, you came from, you were working 4 jobs. you're driving Uber, like you were personal assisting, and now you have this $1 million brand. And I just want to reflect to you that you did not give up. Like we've known each other for a long time. And he was just like, you did not give up. You had projection coming at you. You had people making, when I first started coaching, I had people making fun of me. I had people like saying all this like really mean shit to me. And he's like, you did not give up. You stood in your footprint. You made the choice that you were going to create something, that you were going to go for it. And I just want to reflect that to you. And it meant so much to me that he reflected that, but I sat with it over the next couple of weeks, and was just like, wow, like I did do that, didn't I? I did keep showing up. I did, build something from nothing. I've come such a long way. And it just started percolating. It just started percolating and percolating of like, there's something here about my confidence. There's something here. And then it was interesting. Over the next month, I got reflected 2 more times from 2 different friends about my confidence and how I inspire them around like just going for it. And so I could tell that my universe was really like showing me that something wanted to be birthed here. And it's funny because the name Embodied Confidence came to me first. And then it took me 8 months to really like, because I'm like this, I don't know about you, but when I have an offering come through, I take action on it like immediately. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like, and then it's born,
Yeah.
And this was not that. This was it took very long. It took 8.5 months. I was very intentional about going back into my process over the years and even beyond my business, like even like how I didn't let all the trauma with American Idol squash me, like that was a really, really treacherous experience. And how I came through that, and just looking back on my journey, I went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I just kept asking myself, what was it that kept me going?
Yeah.
What was it that helped me build my confidence? What was it? What's the embodiment I embodied, so to speak? What was the embodiment? What was the energy? What was the mindset? What was the belief systems? What are the tools and the practices that I did? What are the questions I asked myself? What is the support I got? And I went through my journey literally with a fine-tooth comb and built embodied confidence over those 8 months of really understanding I want to help people build authentic, true, sustainable confidence from the inside out. I want to help people go on a deep, sacred journey together and build a relationship with themselves so that they can take that relationship into every other area of their life.
So
that,
good.
yeah, so that's why I did it. I mean, it's 99.9% women, but I believe that it can be for anyone. It can be for anyone. I have moms who've gotten it for their 17-year-olds. I have really like much, much older women. And I have business owners, non-business owners, mothers, everything in between. So I think that if you feel a call to build your confidence, there's something for you in that.
Amazing. And I'll definitely put the link to the website. I think there's a website specifically for it, right? So I could put that in the show notes. And then just finally, as we wrap up, I want to give you the mic to talk about the projects you're working on right now, how people can connect with you. We hinted at some of the new projects in the beginning, but if you just want to expand on that a little bit, give anybody hints of when there are releases and stuff, we could talk about that now.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the main thing I wanted to share about is I am releasing an EP. Like that it's something that I've been wanting to do for my entire life, is make my original music. It's my first time doing this. And the first single is coming out the end of May. And then the other, I know. The other 3 songs are going to come out in the months to follow. But it's just, I'm so excited, and I feel really grateful because I had a long journey with my artistry and my creativity, and I finally feel like I'm at a place where I trust my artistry. Like my creative channel has opened, and what's coming through is, I know, going to touch so many people. And I can't wait to touch people. I've touched people with the healing arts for the last 7 years. And I'm just so excited to touch people in this way and make impact in this way. So
Yeah.
that's what's
Amazing.
happening.
And I'm sorry, excuse my ignorance. What's an EP?
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's like it's a short album. It's basically a short album. It's kind of like a short album. So it's not a full album, but it's like usually
Okay.
3 or 4 songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I need to understand what that is. Does it mean anything? Like, what does EP stand for?
It does, but you know what? Here, let's look it up together because I'm actually I am forgetting now too. Extended play. EP
Oh,
is
okay.
longer than a single, but shorter than an album.
Oh, okay. Awesome. That is news to my ears. So, amazing. So for all of your contact information, your Instagram, your website, the link to Embodied Confidence, the breath channel, we'll make sure that's all linked in the show notes. And thank you so much for spending this time with us and your energy and your story and your wisdom. There are so many golden nuggets here. And I'm fortunate enough to have an audience that understands everything that you're saying, and they're open to this work. So it's so beautiful to kind of have your perspective. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Natty. I so appreciate being here and being with you and your community.
Bye for now.